Hello, this is Kerry Shamblin with the May 2023 Vedic Astrology forecast. First, a summary. The Sun spends a month in Aries from April 14th through May 14th. This is the strongest position of the Sun throughout the year, bringing our attention to what needs to be initiated. Sun in Aries is a good transit for shoring up individual projects and balancing personal needs. Jupiter joining the Sun in Aries adds an even broader sense of purpose to our current beginnings. From May 14th through June 15th, the Sun travels through the sign of Taurus. This is a good stretch to explore what brings us stability, enjoyment, and nourishment. In relationships and business dealings, we may discover what is non-negotiable to our personal sovereignty. May begins with the waxing moon running into the eclipse axis. We see a full moon eclipse in Libra on May 5th. The second of a pair started with a solar eclipse on April 20th. With the light of a powerful full moon falling under a temporary shadow, turn inward and pause. Listen for strong intuitive messages during the first week of May. The moon and sun join in Taurus on May 19th for the new moon. This is a good time to plan for a relaxation and rejuvenation weekend. Physical and mental energy can dip during a new moon, so it may be good to stay rather than go. Mars has occupied Gemini from March 12th through May 10th. And will be felt by aspect as well in the signs of Virgo, Sagittarius, and Capricorn. This is an energetic placement, but beware of pushing too fast, as frustration after overlooking details won't be worth it. Our powerful trajectories may take a plunge when Mars moves into Cancer from May 10th through June 30th. Watery Cancer still flows, so we may be trading our bicycles for boats. Mars sometimes overdoes it while in the gentle environment of Cancer. Find the right channel or fight the current. That's the name of the game. Mercury transits Aries from March 31st to June 7th, which is longer than usual due to a Mercury retrograde cycle from April 21st through May 14th. In mid-May, we may feel like we are downshifting into lower gear as the Sun moves into stable Taurus and Mercury resumes direct motion in Aries on May 14th. For the remainder of May and up to June 7th, we have the opportunity to reorient and reorganize after a chaotic past month. Along with quick-thinking Mercury in Aries, we find his teacher Jupiter and his friend Rahu. After the dramatic events we saw in Aries during April, this could be a recovery mission in which we find useful resources that can be repurposed. Jupiter transits Aries from April 21st, 2023 through April 30th, 2024, for 1 year in Mars's fiery first sign of the zodiac. Jupiter's presence and aspects are considered to be beneficial and positive. Through April 2024, we get this warm, glowing energy in the fire signs, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, as well as in the sign opposite Aries, Libra. The domains of life that these signs occupy in an individual chart could find some positive growth. Jupiter will have a close encounter with Rahu toward the end of May. Rahu's energy can complicate the expression of other planets who pass through his zone. Make sure the truth is clear and facts are in order when making big steps this month. From May 1st through the 30th, Venus will be moving through the fun and engaging sign of Gemini. As Venus enters the idealistic environment of Mercury, Mars will also be there, which could trigger interest in a new or even past relationship. This combination will be present for only the first 10 days of May, but will resume in June, when Venus catches up with Mars in Cancer. This could be a great month for short trips, getting together with friends, learning new skills, and collaborative communication projects. Saturn will occupy his air sign, Aquarius, through March 2025. Saturn's influence can feel weighty and significant, sometimes bringing challenges that urge us to become more resilient, patient, and determined. As the Sun and his entourage depart Aries, leaving the slower-moving planets Jupiter and Rahu there to establish a new order, the influence of Saturn on Aries may become more apparent. We may find ourselves ready to begin again, but also feel hampered by responsibilities that carry over from prior situations. Saturn from Aquarius is in a unique position to both lend structure and experience to situations that require immediate innovation. The ingenious but unpredictable energy of Rahu continues to ignite the fire sign Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. The nodal axis is made up of Rahu, the head, and Ketu, the tail, and moves in tandem reverse motion, churning our lives. Rahu is in Aries through late October 2023. Rahu can stir things up, but this isn't always in a negative way. Rahu moves through the early degrees of Aries during this final 6 months of a transit in a fiery, dynamic environment, perhaps inspiring us to think more broadly about how to fuel our new ventures. As May ends, direct moving Jupiter will pass by Rahu, perhaps challenging us to distinguish between truth and illusion. Ketu, the silent counterpart of Rahu, will remain in Venus's air sign, Libra, through late October 2023. The effects of Ketu can feel like obstruction, blindness, or reversal of situations. During May, Ketu's big moment comes on May 5th, with the penumbral lunar eclipse at the full moon in Libra. Libra is Venus's air sign, expressing the strong attraction humans have for one another and for all the good things that come from the earth. This may be a moment where temporary play of shadow and darkness reveals important details that help to guide us around what may have been blocking us. It may be simple, but not easy. For an in-depth analysis of specific planetary placements, please continue with the full planetary forecast. Venus transits Gemini, May 1st through the 30th. Venus in Taurus through April could have been a stabilizing force, but with the multiple chaotic factors at play, it may have been difficult to stay balanced. To review, by the third week of April, there was a chorus of intense influences. Number 1, a solar eclipse on April 20th in Aries during the new moon. Number 2, Mercury retrograde began in Aries on April 21st, creating more static in Aries and frustration with Mars and Gemini exchanging signs. Number 3, Jupiter entered Aries on April 21st for a 1-year transit. Venus is the planet that indicates how we connect with others, including the Earth itself. Therefore, many things fall under its umbrella. Relationships, politics, family connections, business, partnerships, art and creativity, food, vitality, comfort, enjoyment, and pleasure. Venus's energy tends to make us stick around and attach to things, which, when expressed in a balanced way, can be supportive and nourishing. When taken too far, Venus can lead us into excess with too much of good things, which can then backfire on our health and happiness. Venus rules diplomacy and negotiations. With Venus in Taurus in April, we may have felt stuck in old patterns of overgiving and conceding when we shouldn't. A negatively expressed Venus can lead us into patterns of self-betrayal when we choose to please others. When Venus moves out of Taurus and into Gemini on May 1st, we may feel ourselves sliding forward and making changes. Taurus is a fixed environment that can encourage a stubborn attitude toward moving forward. Gemini is an environment of movement, duality, and exchange, and Gemini is where we find Venus for the entire month of May. Gemini is the air sign of Mercury and has been occupied by Mars since March 12th. Mars will shift signs on May 10th, progressing into Cancer. Mars is the planet we look to for power management, resource acquisition, protection, and problem solving. After a long stint in stubborn Taurus, Mars has been making things move in Gemini. Especially with the influx of planets into Aries, Mars has been powerfully conducting those intense transits mentioned above, as the lord of the sign of Aries. May, June, and July 2023 will give us some Venus-Mars interaction, which will then settle down as Venus begins a retrograde phase on July 23rd, putting space between these two planets that carry very human themes of feminine, Venus, and masculine, Mars. Venus moving through Gemini in May could be a time when we feel actual movement when it comes to relationships. Taurus could have caused a stall in the dynamic at hand, whether it was joining, splitting, or maintaining. Gemini is an environment for trying out new perspectives and analyzing output. With Mars occupying Gemini through May 10th, and importantly, with the Mars-Mercury exchange still operating, and with Mercury retrograde until May 14th, and also an eclipse pairing in effect, let's be ready to ride as May begins. Get grounded and realize you can't pack all of the creature comforts as we take off for an adventurous May that will offer a myriad of opportunities for creative connections and course corrections. There's a full moon eclipse in Libra, Vishak, on May 5th. May opens with the moon in waxing phase, growing stronger each day, which can also translate as an increase in emotional response and irrational inspiration. With all of the above factors operating, it is essential during the end of April and beginning of May to find a way to stay calm, cool, and grounded. Walks in nature are strongly recommended and available to most people in some form. By May 5th, the moon has reached 20 degrees Libra, opposing the exalted sun in Aries during the monthly full moon moment. This puts the sun near the shadow planet Rahu and the moon near the shadow planet Ketu, giving us our second eclipse of 2023. This is a penumbral lunar eclipse visible to Europe, Africa, Asia, and Australia, where it will be night during this temporary alignment. Eclipses on their own are dramatic and intense. This particular one is steeped in an additional strong brew of interesting factors. Fiery Aries holds the strongly exalted Sun, newly initiated Jupiter, retrograde Mercury, and chaotic, charged Rahu. On the other side of the ring, we have a brimmingly full moon who has just crossed into the nakshatra of Vishak, shadowed temporarily by Ketu, who is skilled at stopping all of the presses at the drop of a hat. Moon and Ketu meet in Libra, the Aries sign of Venus. Based on the above analysis of Venus moving through Gemini and joining Mars, this lunar eclipse in Venus's sign of relationship and social responsibility could further impact the trajectory that we find ourselves on. Business, marriage, partnerships, politics, and creative collaborations all may come under an umbrella of collective pause at this time. A particularly interesting feature is that the moon will have just entered Vishak Nakshatra, which spans from 20 degrees Libra to 3 degrees 20 minutes Scorpio, a bridge between the air sign of Venus and the water sign of Mars. Vishaka is ruled by Jupiter and shows us the symbols of a lightning bolt or an arched gateway, both of which imply a transformative action. On a physical level, with the elements of air and water being stirred about, we could experience some stormy weather. Another interesting note is that the rulers of the signs that are hosting these eclipses, Venus and Mars, are somewhat removed from the actual eclipse, sitting together in Gemini. However, due to the exchange of signs between Mars and Mercury, and with Mercury's agitated retrograde state, it does pull the Mars and Venus pairing into play. As we pull out of this short period of intense astrological weather, we may find ourselves sitting with an entirely revamped perspective about who we are, what we want, and about the people around us who play important roles in our lives. Mars transits Cancer from May 10th through July 1st. Mars represents our capacity for strength and power management. Mars rules 2 signs in the zodiac. The first sign, Aries, associated with the head, where power is managed through strategy and leadership. And the 8th sign, Scorpio, associated with the tail, implying the underside of life where powerful forces exercise unseen. As ruler of these environments, we can see Mars manifest in a fiery Aries style, pushing forward and pioneering. And we can also see Mars manifest in a watery, icy Scorpio style, anchoring us deeply in an effort to maintain power through stability. During the Gemini transit between March 13th and May 10th, we can expect a more explosive, fiery expression of Mars, especially due to the exchange of sign rulers that ties Mars into the very active environment of Aries at this time. Mars moving into Cancer from May 10th through July 1st could feel like a sudden plunge into the river, both shocking and refreshing at once. Each of the planets has a sign where it struggles to express its inherent gifts. For Mars, that place is Cancer, the sign ruled by the moon, a place of vulnerability in the zodiac where the powerful Mars appears incongruent. In some natal charts, Mars in Cancer shows up in people who are successful, competitive athletes. People with Mars in Cancer know how to deal with disappointment and keep on trying, finding a channel for their frustration and fire. In this light, we all have this opportunity from mid-May through June. The first thing we may feel is the breaking of the parivartana, the exchange of signs between retrograde Mercury in Aries and Mars in Gemini. This could feel like unplugging from a very fast-developing, confusing situation into a quickly moving stream that refocuses your attention onto obstacles ahead. From Cancer, Mars will push his energy through aspect into the signs of Libra, Capricorn, and Aquarius, which could actually provide the force that some of us have been waiting for to move things forward. Libra has been occupied by Ketu since April of 2022 and will move into Virgo in November of 2023. Ketu tends to obstruct, split, or reverse, which can be useful in certain cases but quite difficult in others. With Mars pushing from Cancer, we may find that the solutions to our puzzles begin to emerge. Capricorn always welcomes Mars energy, and those with this sign prominent in their charts may feel encouraged to keep moving deliberately forward. What may have been a source of contention and frustration through the spring may evolve into a nice set of flippers that swims you further ahead than you expected. Aquarius receiving Mars's deep push could feel the most uncomfortable, yet the most liberating. Saturn is currently plodding forward in Aquarius, aspecting Mars's fire sign and all of the planets that have been passing through since April. Saturn's influence tends to slow things down. Mars pushing back may enable us to leapfrog over obstacles and move forward in more radical ways. Mercury goes direct in Aries on May 14th. After Mars unplugs from the dynamic fueling, the sign of Aries, Mercury still placed in Aries will resume direct motion, which is a questionable status due to how close Mercury will be to Rahu, who tends to amplify energy enough to mimic retrograde status. With the Sun about to exit Aries right after Mercury resumes direct motion in mid-May, it may be a good time to sit and think things through for a moment before making sudden moves. We are all coming out of an active time. Minds will be racing, egos will be inflamed, and the helpers will be trying to figure out where to find the bandages. The mechanism that was born from Mercury entering Aries on March 31st and spinning until Mars exits Gemini on May 10th could have revived ideas that were born a few years ago, when Rahu transited Gemini from April of 2019 through September of 2020. As we know, a global pandemic sprung up at that time that changed the course for almost everyone on the planet. Now may be the time to collect those unexpressed remnants from 2020 and retool them for what's happening now. Give Mercury a week after resuming direct motion for things to settle down to a manageable speed before diving deep into long-term commitments. Mercury resumes direct motion at about 12 degrees Aries and travels through the remaining part of Aries until June 7th, when Mercury skids into Taurus for some rejuvenation time on the farm. This 3-week stretch from May 14th through June 7th should be helpful in getting reorganized, assessing new levels of resources, and recalibrating for moving forward. Use the flexible intelligence of Mercury to maximize efficiency and shore up strategies. The Sun transits Taurus from May 14th through June 15th. The Sun will be the first of the eclipse characters to move out of Aries, blazing through Taurus from May 14th through June 15th. The Sun operates at his strongest capacity while in Aries. In most years, championing the individual self into personal achievements. Things were more complicated this year due to Rahu's presence there, causing eclipses and blowing smoke. For most of us, the Sun moving into Taurus this year should give us some clarity about where we're looking to plant our seeds in the near future. As the spring moves into summer, we will see our chain of planets spreading out once again, which helps us all to see more clearly. Sun and Taurus can inspire us to live more closely with the earth, enjoying the rejuvenative powers of nature and getting back to the birds and bees. This is a good time to settle down and listen for new creative inspiration. Especially after such an intense April, this is a directive to slow down and enjoy life as the quickening of late spring intensifies. New Moon in Taurus, Kritika, May 19th. The waning moon slips in to join the Sun in Taurus for the new moon on May 19th. The luminaries meet at 5 degrees Taurus, which falls in the nakshatra Kritika, close to the degree of exaltation for the moon. This will be the first new moon after an eclipse pairing. This is also a few days after Mars has pulled the plug and dipped into the moon's sign of Cancer. When the moon is waning and getting to the point of meeting with the Sun, we see less and less light reflected. In our bodies, the energy could also feel low, ebbing away, leaving us feel depleted. May 19th is a Friday. Setting the weekend up as a mini retreat could be very helpful in getting energy back on track and checking in with the physical and mental health and wellness. Good food, comfortable friends, relaxing environments, and quiet moments could be powerful at this time. Venus joins Mars in Cancer on May 30th. After the quick trip through Gemini, Venus continues to pursue Mars into Cancer on May 30th. This pairing prevails through June, moving through the watery, sensitive, and emotional environment of the Moon's sign. With Venus and Mars joining in the waters of Cancer during June, we can expect some messy, passionate energy. The idealistic environment of Gemini can be used to bring balance and reckoning into relationships and business arrangements before we take this plunge. May is the time to work things out in your personal transactions, pay your debts, clarify contracts, and let go of mechanisms that are not contributing to your personal accounts. Thank you for listening in. More to come.